think that might be.
Always looking for them.
Yeah, part-time or
Yeah.
something.
Semi-retired.
We just want to get out of all. Call to order the special meeting of the corporation of the township of Brunel and Dock and Raglan, this 19th day of April, 2023 at 7:02 p.m. As we gather this evening, I would like to acknowledge on behalf of the council and our community that we are meeting on the traditional territory of the Algonquin people. We would like to thank the Algonquin people and express our respect and support for their rich history, and we are extremely grateful for their many and continued displays of friendship. We also thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. I'll do the roll call. Councillor Banks,
Yes.
Councillor Coppell, here, Councillor Keller,
Here.
Councillor Quad.
Present.
I have a resolution that the council of the corporation of the township of Brunel and Dock and Raglan adopt the agenda as submitted. Could I get a mover for that, please? I can move. Moved by Councillor Coppell, second by Councillor Banks. Any questions?
Yeah.
I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Yes.
Yes.
Motion carried. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest of anything that's on the agenda this evening?
No,
Seeing none. The purpose of our meeting, we Will Barr from McKilligan and Associates to present financial statements to us and to answer any questions. I'll do the motion after then. So,
Right, I'll go over the statements. I'll jump around probably a little bit just because it's a little easier to try and understand. Don't be afraid to jump in and ask questions, please. And I know you guys have had the statements, so please don't be afraid to speak up and ask, because I never know how much people want to know or how much we want to get in depth. So we'll go from there. I'll start off on all the pages are numbered. So I'll start off on page 1, which is the independent auditor's report. And I'll just read the second paragraph under opinion. And in our opinion, the company consolidated financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the township as at 31st December 2022 and its financial performance and cash flows for the year then ended in accordance with Canadian public sector accounting standards. What all that jargon means is that we have no reservations on the numbers.
Yeah.
So we're happy with the numbers. Okay, that's what all that. So what we'll do is we'll jump to page 14. And this is probably the most important statement in all the statement. So this is the schedule of general operations, and what this is this basically tells us how the municipality went for this year. So under revenue, we have our net municipal taxation, which is up over our budget, and mainly the difference there was there was more supplementaries this year than there was write-offs. That's what that was. Our government transfers, our Ontario is down from what we had budgeted for. And the main reason there was we didn't require as much OCIF funding to finance capital projects. That was the big thing there. And that was mainly because got a late start on a lot of the road projects and they weren't able to be completed. So they're going to be completed in 2023. The Canada is up because with those projects that were going to be funded by OCIF getting late started, what we kind of decided a little bit was the additional gas tax was used to finance some of the road capital projects rather than using the OCF money. Our other municipalities That's basically the county money for the community garden. And there wasn't as much money spent on the community garden as expected for the budget. Our other revenue was up this year mainly because the interest rates went up during the year, which generated us more interest. The payback of legal expenses was another reason there. And then the doctor recruitment payback from Madawaska Valley was that was a little over $30,000 right there. So that's those three, those were the three major reasons why other income was up. Under our expenses, the general government was down, mainly because some of the modernization projects that were scheduled for 2022 weren't completed. Protection to persons and property, which is basically the fire, was consistent with our budget. Our transportation services were up a little bit over budget, mainly because of the rise in fuel costs.
Yeah.
Like you guys, some of you guys have known diesel was just crazy this summer. And that was the big.
It's hard to budget or forecast that.
Oh, you can.
You know, it's a moving target.
Yeah, you can. You do the best you can at budget time and hope things fall into place, like. Environmental services was down a bit this year, mainly because the grinding contract at the landfill was lower than expected for this year. Recreation and cultural services, there were savings throughout the budget. And it was a tough one to call this year with COVID kind of ending. And this was also the first year that the Recreation Committee and the Bicentennial Park were in.
Yes.
It's part of ownership rather than being separate. So, yeah, which I think was a good idea because it makes Virginia and Tammy's job a lot easier.
Right.
Because you're only keeping one set of books instead of three sets.
Yeah.
And then having and then for me to consolidate it at the end of the year. So I think it was a good idea. And then planning and development was very consistent with with our budget. So our shortfall of revenue over expenses was $510,000 actual, and we budgeted $535,000 before transfers. And then under our transfers, we had transfer from reserves and a transfer from equity and tangible capital assets. They were a lot less than what we were expecting, mainly because again, we had capital savings on the projects that we did complete. And then we also had savings on the capital because a lot of the road projects were couldn't get completed.
Right.
Because we had such a late start. So that explains that there. So our net transfers ended up to be very close in the end anyway. We budgeted 490,000 and we ended up with 511, which gave us a general surplus of $413. We came in with a surplus of 44,000, and so at the end of the day, we have a surplus of almost $45,000 in overall.
Yeah.
That all kind of
Makes
fall into play, makes sense.
Yeah, makes sense.
So there's nothing there that's out of the ordinary or that can't be explained, okay? So maybe then, does anyone have any question? Yeah, okay, so what I'll do then is we'll jump to, or we'll go back to page 2.
Which thing?
Page 2. And that's our consolidated statement of financial position, which used to be called the balance sheet.
Right.
I think it should still be called the balance sheet, but I'm old. Cash in bank was down this year in December, but remember on this, on your balance sheet, your financial position, it's just a picture in time.
Yeah.
So it's just what it was then, okay? So our cash in bank was down and a lot of it was a number of expenditures and capital was financed through the modernization and COVID-19 reserves, which had been sitting there for a couple of years. And so the money from them was sitting in the bank, so that money was spent. And the purchase of the grader, near the end of the year. We paid cash for it and we still, and so that came out of the bank. We haven't got the debenture yet.
Yes.
It's in process, so once the debenture comes in, we'll have the cash, so we'll be okay. Taxes receivable are down, which is a good sign. We'll talk a little more about taxes receivable a little later. Our accounts receivable are up. Again, picture in time, and sitting in there was the gov deals for the sale of the old grader and plow truck, the old plow truck. So
liquidated.
they were sold,
Yep.
they were sold, but we hadn't got the money yet. And the other one was the doctor recruitment. Money hadn't got here yet.
Yep.
So, that was why our accounts receivable were up. Liabilities, our accounts payable and accrued liabilities, that was down, mainly, again, it was a timing thing back at the end of 2021. There was a bunch of fire purchases that Jordan had did. And they had come in, but the bills had just come in, so we had to set them up on payables at the end of 2021, so. Our deferred revenue, that's made up of our obligatory reserve funds, which is mainly our OCF money there. And we'll talk a little bit more about that after too. Our net long-term liabilities are down, mainly because that's our debentures and we're making our payments. So they're going down. Our landfill closure and post-closure costs, they're up. They're mainly because of the engineer report. And in prep for presentation changes in 2023. So just give you, I don't know what's all coming down the tubes yet for 2023, but for landfill closure and post-closure costs, there's a PSAP change for the presentation on the financial statements and how we're going to handle landfill sites going forward. Basically, what I do know is don't ask me why, but people dream these wonderful things up. What we, and I've done some of the groundwork already here in prep for this. What we have to do is look at the landfill sites, go back to when they were originally started, and through the present base of money, figure out how much they're worth, and date it, and then come up with it with a value that they're worth now, and do journal entries to capitalize the landfill sites.
This is effective for next year.
This is what
So
we
they back
expect.
up the capital asset.
Yes, we looked at as a capital asset
CapEx.
and amortized over time. That's kind of the gist of what's going to happen.
That's the going forward plan.
Yes, yeah,
That comes from Ontario.
yes,
Or-
yeah, for
Provincial?
PSAP,
Okay,
yeah, or, yeah, so that's coming.
interesting.
Yeah, so what's going to happen is that the 2020, the 2021 numbers are going to have to get restated.
Yeah.
Once we know what everything is going on, and then the 2023 numbers will reflect the new regulations.
Yeah, the change.
The change, yeah. So basically, once
I wonder what drove that.
I really don't know.
I don't understand why they would turn a landfill into.
I really don't know, and I really don't even understand the way it was all set up before too, like the thought process for it. But that's what's kind of coming down the tubes. And then what'll happen is every year, once it's all set up, there'll be 2 entries every year. be the amortization, it will show up for the landfill. And the other one will be what they're calling, an accretion, entry, which basically is to account for any inflation and change.
So, yeah, fluctuation.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
the inflation.
Yeah, so that's,
And that's on the lifespan of that's on the lifespan of the site, right?
yeah,
And then you start over on it at where the new site happens to be.
that's right, yeah.
What happens to the site when it's closed?
Well, in theory, okay, in theory, supposedly, and that's what the part I don't like about this, is it's estimates based on estimates based on estimates, but in theory. They're saying that if everything it goes correctly. Is that at the end of the lifespan, you're gonna have in your fixed assets. The landfill will be zero.
Right.
And the liability on the balance sheet is going to be equal to the cost of closing the landfill. So that when you would, so when the municipality would pay for the landfill to get closed, then the expenses, instead of hitting your bottom line, would go to the liability and would.
So it doesn't slow down.
Reduce the liability
So
down to
it's
zero.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
doesn't slow down the
Yeah.
long line.
Yeah, that's the thought process.
But we would still have liability after it's closed.
So you carry the liability as for
Yeah, but that's the.
1 year old, but
Yeah, that's the theory. So hopefully through the summer, we'll find out more. but
yeah, learn more about it, yes.
We'll learn a little more about it, but that's kind of the gist of it. And I should have brought it with me. I've already did the groundwork. I went back and I've got the costs all in place, and I've got the journal entries drafted that I think we're going to need to do it.
And do we look at forecasting the closure date to make sure the money's in place? Do we plan for that something?
That's the, well, that's where we have our landfill closure, post-closure costs. There is a debit or as a credit with our 254,000. And then down under accumulated surplus, we have the same amount down there.
So we add that inflation number and carry that forward and hope that covers the closing costs.
Yeah, and the engineers,
Based on the forecast.
yeah, and engineers do, it's all part of their annual, their annual, report, yeah, that they do every year. So it's right in there.
Again, it's based on what they feel will happen.
Yeah. So it's,
Get a bit of a moving target when you look far out, right?
oh yeah, it's a big thing there. Yeah, but I think it's more.
How much risk do we build in each year, do you think? Do we build any risk in?
It's all very, well, I think the
Or does
engineer,
they build risk?
yeah, they build it in with their assumptions.
Yeah, okay, so yeah, that's where they take care of the risk, we don't worry about. it.
You don't have to worry about,
Okay, that's what I was trying to see where
yeah,
who's managing the risk.
yeah, they're managing it and it's all part of that 254,000.
Yeah, okay, no, that's good, thank you.
Okay, then, so we have, that gives us net financial assets of 1.1 million. Down under non-financial assets is our tangible capital assets of 21 million. Our inventory of supplies of 83,000, that's made up of our winter sand and salt and some gravel inventory at the end of the year. Our prepaid expenses, we didn't have any this year. Normally, we always had that 10,000 that was sitting in 2021. Normally, we support the computer support for iCity. They usually bill us in November or December, and for the following year. This year, they were a little late getting their bill to us, And so it wasn't paid until 2023, so that's why there's no prepaid
Yeah.
this year. So in the end, we have an accumulated surplus of $22 million, which is made up of our equity tangible capital assets of 21 million, our general surplus of 44, and our reserves and reserve funds of 1.7 million. It's down a bit because we used quite a bit this year of our modernization reserve and the COVID-19 reserve. We'll talk about that a little later too. And then our unfunded landfill closure, post-closure cost balances out against our up above there.
Mhm.
So in the end, we have a total accumulated surplus of $22 million. That all kind of makes sense.
That's good, yeah.
Okay, then I'll jump to page 5. Which is our statement of cash flows. And this statement just basically shows us, where we generated money and where we spent money. So from our operating activities, we generated 533,000. We generated another 77,000 of cash through the change in our working capital. So in total from our operating activities, we generated 611,000 in cash. We spent 31,000 of that paying back our long-term liabilities, which is basically our debenture. And then we spent 1.2 million on additions to our capital assets, which then gave us a net decrease in our cash of 658,000. We came in with 26, and so at the end of the day, we have our 1.9 million. If we had if the debenture for the new grader had been all done then that cash would have been a lot more.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's our cash flows. Now I'll just draw your attention. I won't bore you guys with all the notes. I'll just touch on a couple of the notes. On page 9 is well, let's look at number 3, which is their net long-term liabilities. So that just gives you guys an idea of the commitments going forward for paying off the debt. Okay. And then note 4 is operations of school boards and county. I like talking about this note a little bit to councils, just because it kind of gives you guys a little bit of understanding when people start firing questions to you out in the public. Okay. Because you guys bring in all the tax dollars, and you know where are you spending it. So this is kind of interesting once you kind of put it in perspective. So you guys raised $2.8 million last year in taxes between the regular taxes and PILs. So but included in that is the county and the schools. So out of that, 34% of that went to paying the county. 10% of that went to pay the school boards. 11%, which doesn't show here, but 11% of that went to cover policing costs. So in total, out of all your taxation, before you guys even start thinking about spending a red cent, 55% of it is gone.
We have 45% left.
Yeah.
I was just thinking of it. Yeah.
So it's something interesting.
It's a way to look at it.
Yeah, and the other thing to kind of remember on this too is with both the school boards and the county, they expect their money.
Yeah.
So. And they don't pay you guys, reimburse you guys for looking after that. But if the ratepayers don't pay you guys, we still.
That's right, yeah, they expect it, yeah.
Yeah, we still have to pay the schools.
And if you're 1 day late with your payment, they charge you.
The church, yeah.
So when does that go out to the at the very beginning of the year, fiscal year, the first quarter.
And March and it's
Okay.
June, September, and then 15th of the year.
Quarterly payments.
Yeah, quarterly payments, yeah, so I just thought, that's a little interesting. Note 5 is our deferred revenue and our obligatory reserve funds. Obligatory reserves funds, to just give you guys a little idea. You have to set those, a municipality has to set those up because there's a third party out there that tells you how you have to spend it. So that's why it's set up as an obligatory reserve fund. And in your for you guys, the OCIF money and the gas tax get classed as obligatory reserve funds, okay? So, at the end of the year, we had 789,000 in OCF and we had 32,000 in gas tax. And then on the next page, it just shows how that was spent. So at the start of the year, we came in with 647,000. We got 47,000 in gas tax. We got 437 in OCF. We earned 13,000 in interest. So we had 1.1 million in our obligatory reserve fund. We went out and we spent 324,000 of that on capital, which was all roads. So that leaves us with 821 at the end of the day. In our obligatory reserve. On page, we'll just jump to page 13 and that just to draw your attention to our equity tangible capital assets that we our value of our assets or our capital assets is 21 million, but we have what we would say debt against them is that we've got net long-term liabilities of 201,000, which is our debentures.
Yeah.
And then we have unexpended capital financing of 197,000, and that represents the new grader. Because we didn't have the debenture, so we really didn't finance it. Okay, so that's what that means there. Jump to page 15 for a quick minute. But that's our schedule of reserves and reserve funds. So it shows that through the year, we from operations, we added $338,000 to the reserves. Then we then we had transfers. So we had transfers to operations of 81,000. And we had transferred to tangible capital acquisitions of 706,000. So what we did was we put 338 in, we took 788 out to give us a change in our reserve funds of 450,000. And we came in with the 2.2 million, so we ended up with 1.7 million at the end of the day, and that's made up of our working funds, general government protection, roadways, solid waste, and recreation. That gives us our breakdown, and then our reserve, our discretionary reserve is the shoreline, which is our $20,000. Okay. So that's the statements. Okay. I brought along with me some other schedules that I'll go over real quick. Just because safety we work on that. Sorry. Okay.
Would it work on the rest of it?
I don't know why.
No, it's what do you think?
I'll give you out there. Thank you. Oh, here we go. See if we're shredded to work. There we go. I think that's enough. There are a short one from the gym. There we go. Okay, I'll just go over these quick. Just maybe to help a little bit. I know you guys are almost done your budget, But just to give you guys a little kind of numbers out there to know where kind of things are at. So the first one is their taxes receivable and analysis. So just wanted to give you guys a breakdown of the taxes receivable, as far as the aging goes and how it compares to for the last few years. So, we have for the end of 2022, our taxes receivable is 406,000. Our total reserves are 1.7. So I just want to kind of show you is that our taxes receivable account for 23% of our reserves. So what that means is that we're cash flowing the taxes receivable through our reserves. So basically, if we say we have 1.7 million in reserves, well, we do, but 23% of that is already committed. We need the cash flow, our taxes receivable, and then going back to that note that talked about counting the schools.
Yeah.
That's where some of that, that's why we're kind of cash flowing, is we've already paid them guys that money,
Yeah,
but we haven't got it all.
it's not been collected or.
Okay,
Yeah.
so just to give you an idea. And then another thing with the taxes, just the 406. It represents 14% of our tax levy.
Yeah.
For the year.
Is that normal across the municipalities or?
It's for Renfrew County. It's right in the ballpark. Okay, so maybe a touch on the high side, but for Renfrew County, it's in the ballpark.
Yeah.
The Ontario average for 2021 was 7%. Just to give you some perspective, okay? On that. And then our next page is our reserve analysis. And it just kind of shows us what we came in with and what we added and what we took off. Our working funds, the majority, all of our deletions, that 231,000, that all went to capital. And then the modernization, that 155,000 can be broken down. Approximately 82,000 went to expenditures and 73,000 was for capital. The
So
COVID
it's
restart.
capital and operating,
Yeah,
it's a mixture of CapEx and OpEx.
yeah. And then our COVID-19 restart money, that went all to capital. And all the roads stuff went to capital. And one thing Virginia and I discussed too at the end of the year, and we had the, for lack of a better word, we had the funds within the operating this year that we put 15,000 into the recreation committee and 5,000 by Centennial Park. And the reason we did that was because when we brought in the recreation and the park into the township's general ledger,
Yeah.
that was their equity.
Yeah.
So I didn't want, we kind of felt that it was a good idea if someone.
They don't lose sight of it.
Yeah, we're not losing sight of it.
Right.
It's there.
Yeah.
Okay, it's.
So it's good, it's reported on, that's good.
Yeah, it's not gone, so, you know, if the committee or the park came and said, geez, we'd really like to do a project. And, well, there's the money there, if need be, you know what I mean, so I think that was a good thing to do.
Yeah.
The next page is our reserve fund for the shoreline. There was no shoreline sold this year, but we're sitting with $20,000 sitting there. And when we say reserve, and then we say fund right after, that means that you actually got cash.
Yeah.
The cash is sitting in there.
What's the stipulation on us using it? I kind of forget.
There is none now.
Oh, there is none.
There is none. It used to be,
Yeah.
it used to be strictly strictly only use it for recreation. And it was class, because the ministry dictated that. It used to be, an obligatory reserve fund. But now it's they call it a discretionary reserve fund because they relinquished that, that specific, stipulation that it had to be recreational. Most places, most municipalities still kind of like earmark it for recreation, but there's no stipulation now.
And I can see why they did that, because it was considered recreational property.
That's right, yeah. So that's. And then, the final page is, just a breakdown of the OCIF and the gas tax. Just to show, how much we came in with and what, and how much we spent on it. So, we ended up, we've got in our OCF, we have a little over $1 million in the bank. We had 247,000 that was due to the township, which was the 2021 expenditures that we had used. And then the township gave that, the OCF paid that to the township. And then then in 2022, we spent 220,000. The township did for using OCF, so OCF has to fund reimburses. It's municipal accounting, that's, and then, so then that gives us, that really, we have 789,000 sitting in our OCF, that's available to spend. And the same idea in the gas tax, at the end of 2022, we have 30 in our gas tax that we're able to spend before we even get to 2022 money.
So the interest earned the $1,400 and change, where did that come from?
That came from sitting in the bank.
Which sum of money sitting in the bank, like how much?
That the 1,400 represents the gas,
Everything?
the interest on the gas tax.
Okay,
Okay, and then the interest, the 12,000 for the OCIF, that was on the OCF money, because we gotta keep the two pots of money separate.
And you have to report the interest that was earned
Yeah,
to the bank.
so all of the surplus money just sits in the bank and really at low interest rates, and it's not invested to drive. It's
no,
not
it's kind of,
just sits there.
it's kind of, yeah, it is kind of stipulated that it has to be readily available.
Always liquid,
Yeah, always liquid, yeah,
and you can't put risk on that money.
and you can't put risk on that.
All right, no, good to know.
So, that's all I kind of got to say.
No, that's good.
Anybody got any
No,
questions or?
No, you heard lots, you explained, and it's good, I like that.
Yeah. We learned.
Good presentation, yeah. It's always nice to hear.
And I'd like to thank Virginia and Tammy and Jordan for all the help that we do for getting the year end done, because we, like, again, we got it done. We got it done quickly again this year. It was all done, first week of February.
Yeah.
But like, I was done here.
How often do we look at that throughout the year?
Twice a year, yeah. So usually I come in the fall, and what it's called in the fall is the procedural audit. And basically what the procedural audits now are what they call base risk audits now. So what the procedural audit does is come in and you look at the procedures and that are supposed to be in place and check them, and based on what we find, then dictates how much testing that we gotta do at year end.
Right, okay. So the auditor kind of polices what is to happen.
Well, yeah, sorry, yeah, yeah.
Procedurally, but when you say, you know, making sure the procedures are being followed, so you're kind of reviewing that and making sure that people are following the
That's,
process.
that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah, I kind of wish that, we were called something different than auditors, because people see auditors, a lot of times is, like a CRA auditor, where they're walking in to find, they're coming to find,
well, they're looking, that's right.
they're looking to find something. Where we're here to help you guys. Like, we're not here to slap your knuckles or find, like, really.
It's to help,
find
it's to
something.
help guide the ship.
That's right, that's what we're here for.
But if you do find something that's not, that's out of the ordinary, you also report it.
Yeah. And that reporting usually comes through, if it's something minor. You know, we just tell Jim, if it's something a little major, then what we do then is we write a management letter.
Right, yeah.
And then, that management letter comes to council.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, same as any other type of audit that it's done, whether it be, you know, an ISO audit, any kind of, they do the same thing, any findings are written out. If it's a minor finding, no, nothing too serious, but any major findings are written out.
Yeah.
No, yeah, really and truly, it is the function that you provide is more than just looking at numbers.
That's right, yeah.
It could be called something different, you're right.
Yeah.
No, it's good, thank you.
Thank you, Will. That was very informative.
Yeah, and good work. Good.
And it was nice to get invited to come up, because I was telling from Jenny Foley last week, started thinking, and I'm gonna age myself here. The last time I was at a council meeting here was prior to amalgamation. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so, yeah, so,
I find that really, because we always had the auditor come to present the financial statement.
Yeah, and
When I
when it was in, yeah, Bruno and Doc.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, I know Dad always talked about it.
yeah.
Yeah.
His dad was Desmond Quam.
I remember. And your dad was sitting at the council table the year that year that I presented, it was in, where Virginia's office is now.
Yeah.
That was where the council
Yeah.
chambers was. And even when your dad quit being on council, he used to come to the audit.
Oh, yeah, no, he loved the financial stuff.
He could act quicker than his dad than I could live.
Like Dad always enjoyed getting the reports and going over all that stuff. Audits and all the financial things. Okay, all right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion table from the April 12th council meeting, moved by Iris Calvin, seconded by Kevin Quad, that we would cancel the corporation of the township of Brunel, Lindrock and Raglan, hereby accepted financial statements. So any further questions or comments? I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Yes.
The motion is carried. Has we seen our draft budget? Okay, our next issue is the draft budget. You could stay and take a peek at it if you want.
Well, if you wanted to.
It's up to you.
Sure.
Do we have an extra copy?
I can get one up here. There we go. Thank you, thanks.
Okay, so I see that there was two
So the two highlighted items,
in yellow is what's the addition?
How many
that.
pages are that?
On page 9, it's the debenture for the grader.
Yeah,
Oh.
those are the actual numbers.
Yes.
Since we have the eventually finalized now.
Yeah,
So those I think are the only changes.
Still need to listen.
yeah,
Bringing us in with a surplus of 22,163, however. Going to give you. A report from Jordan. And I'm going to change this a little bit. So we had, or Jordan had in the budget, for replacement culvert steamer, 20,000.
yeah,
Neither of the two steamers have been or are anticipated to be used this year, when snow is gone now, so
Yeah.
they're obviously not going to be used. With the temperature swings this spring, roads have been seeing a lot of damages. Township is unable to use a stockpile of road patch to fill holes. It's too cold and it won't adhere to the road surface. Staff have resorted to bag road patch. Yeah, however, it's a much more expensive solution. Research has been done to a more long-term solution and staff have come up with an asphalt reclaimer. Similar to the one the county Renfrew roads crew uses for road patch. Be loaded into the reclaimer and warmed to a workable mix. This unit will also allow staff to use the hardened chunks in the stockpile that is normally considered waste. Another added value is the fact staff will no longer have to load patch on the back of the truck and be expected to lift heavy shovelfuls from an awkward height. The reclaimer has 2 doors at knee height for easy lifting. So the price of the asphalt reclaimer is $15,1096. And then I have changes in there as well. Steamer of 20,000. On page 9, I believe it is, in the report there. Is that I just, Kevin, the pages of the report there. 15,008 in there for that. We had planned on using OCIF money to fund the culvert steamer. So I removed that from the OCIF money, the 20,000 from there. Still leaving us with 63 surplus. With the purchase of the.
we can't prove budget first.
Yeah. So we've got a few options. And one thing as well, last week when the library was in, they had asked for a 2% increase, which works out to at $75.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we should do that,
I agree.
especially when they're coming to the community to offer programs for, I really think we should do that.
I definitely see value for the people. to
Yeah.
Do that as well.
Would that apply to both libraries then, or just put it on the left of that?
Well, what is the other one? They don't offer any other services other than our residents going to their library.
Yeah. It'd be nice to continue with the programs
Yes,
like they have in March.
yeah.
Okay, so that will change this number then to.
I know we didn't talk about this earlier and that, but has anyone taken a look at the carpet in our office?
No, I don't spend a lot of time in
Neither do I.
I don't know when the last time.
It's probably been in there a long time.
Yeah, and I mean, now carpets in the alleyways and and I don't know if we would be prepared to look at that. But it's not been,
Well, it never hurts to look at things,
yeah,
whether we can afford to do something, but I mean, it never hurts to review
because I
it for sure.
mean, if you have something that you can scrub it, it's clean.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, what would we look to change it to? Are you thinking of tile or?
No, you probably wanna go with something that's waterproof. Or
Yeah, because you can go on the concrete with the tile.
Or you could maybe get a waterproof laminate that would, you know, well,
Some type of commercial product,
yeah.
right?
So council is okay with the change then from the steamer to the asphalt reclaimer?
Yes,
And the asphalt reclaimer, is that new or used?
It's used.
Yeah, so
yeah, because I was.
is it a good machine? Like how old is it?
I don't know the specs of this.
So I was just thinking for the price it cannot be, that's all I'm saying.
No. So a few things for council to consider with the surplus, we could change the amount that, we were taking from reserves to balance the budget. I know council wanted more information on remuneration, so I do have a chart for you on that as well.
Yeah, that was a new package.
Yeah. That was eye-opening.
It was.
I don't do another thing.
I sat down and did some stuff, I didn't think it would. Yeah, it's quite interesting, this secret or.
Well, my thought is that we need to do something. I mean, we've updated our staff. With salary and benefits and that, so I think we really need to seriously look at the council one too, and I mean, we can't go. Everything in 1 year, but maybe we could do 50% this year and the other 50% next year.
Right.
Or whatever your thoughts are.
It seems most of them are like, monthly,
Yeah,
and then so much per meeting, and then they kind of divide it, right?
Yeah, and then even the one that doesn't, it really blends, like MV is kind of a blend, right?
Yes,
So when you do the math on the others, you kind of do
Yeah.
that, so it's all pretty close.
yeah,
yeah,
And when you do the math on based on,
Yeah.
everything, I looked at this afternoon.
So I did do some calculations. The 6,300 surplus, if that was added to council remuneration. You could do a monthly remuneration for mayor of 550 and council would be 400.
and that would probably be good for this year. And then next year
I
we,
mean, we're gonna be getting 450 a month.
Council would be 400 a month.
Oh, 400.
And mayor would be.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, I'm not in here for them, like, but I wouldn't take 400. I think it should be less.
you make 3 now if you attend 2 meetings,
That's
or.
right.
Oh, yeah, I guess when you look at it that way, yeah.
No,
Yeah.
So,
That's
and what else do you attend, like, I mean, I attend a lot of things and I get nothing for it.
Yeah, well, no, but you should, yes.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that,
So, and
but
I'm
I'm
not,
just saying like for a meeting, like once a month we have,
yeah, no,
you know?
no, and what we have now, it is costing us to be on the council. And that's not really fair, because you may have someone that would be really good on council when we consider it, but they can't afford it.
You can afford to lose money, but.
Yeah.
It's a help.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know when I sat in the mayor's chair, and I figured it out if I was making all the work I did, because. Yes, people may watch a meeting on Zoom and see you here for 3 hours.
yeah,
But in all reality, I figured out I'd probably make $5 an hour.
yeah,
If you actually research your agenda.
Yeah.
And you spend the hour that and everything else, it's time consuming, right?
Oh,
and,
yeah, like
and
when,
calls and your emails, and your,
You make it.
attend and,
Yeah.
And I know last week I got a call from a person that, and it was like 7 o'clock at night, that a road was flooded, washed out.
Yeah.
Well, okay, and they couldn't get a hold of
No.
George, and they couldn't get a hold of Delmer. And I said, okay, I'll take care of it. So I
Yeah.
spent at least an hour trying to get, and finally I thought,
Yeah.
Thursday night, maybe it's fire. I'll send a text to Tammy. And she says, yes, Jordan's aware. So, I mean, you spend a lot of time that people don't realize.
Oh, yeah, when you're mayor, you're every night on that thing, that laptop for anywhere from half an hour to an hour.
Yeah,
well, yeah, just gotta talk stuff.
I've seen it, like, you can't, you fall behind. Even at $400 a month for a counselor, that's probably gonna work out to maybe $8 an hour, but it's gonna work out for everyone.
so you're still below minimum.
Then what he's getting a raise, and that's all.
And I mean, look at our neighboring municipalities.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Well, no, I was,
yeah.
Well, what's your thoughts?
Well, when you put it that way, because I never think about the time I sit down at my computer at home, you know, I never think of that.
It
It's
was,
the only thing I think about is when I come to a meeting.
I mean, we all spend
Oh, yeah,
our own gas to come here for a meeting.
oh, yeah,
You know,
gas, when the gas just went up again.
Yeah.
we're not trying to be.
No,
or whatever it
it's
is.
so
not
you're
a,
kind of looking more like do what MD's doing, just the monthly thing.
I would think that's what,
Yeah,
I would think that would be the best.
Yeah, just do the monthly thing and not worry about the meeting.
Yeah.
No,
that's what I.
Kind of like you're on.
and that
salary.
would
Yeah.
cover,
Same idea.
like if
That's
you go to any of the sessions and that, I mean,
Yeah, the doctor kind of this same idea as a salaried employee.
yeah.
You don't get overtime, this is.
That's right.
You get the end of this. is
Yeah.
where they have to work on it.
And then, and
It's
if
a
you have
thing that you
10
have to
meetings
do.
that month,
That's right.
10 meetings.
Yeah, it's assumed that you do it.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
No, I'm good with that. It's easy to look after this.
It is, it's easy to manage.
You don't worry about.
Yeah.
You know, kind of cost plus a meeting or whatever, it's
Exactly.
this is just what it is, make it easy. Don't have to keep track of special meetings or what this is or that is.
Exactly.
It's assumed that everything.
What's your experience with council remuneration?
He knows we're low.
Actually, I like the monthly. Personally,
Yeah.
I lean towards the monthly.
Yeah, I like the idea as well.
Because two, it helps with your cash flow.
Yeah.
Well, you know
Yes.
exactly at the beginning of the year, you know what you're dealing with.
Well,
It's really easy.
And you probably would get paid on a monthly basis then. Yeah. Because I know the county pays monthly.
Yeah.
And you get what it is, it is.
Yeah, that's right.
You don't have to keep track of anything or submit it.
Well, that's the nice thing about it is for the office staff, you're not trying to remember,
Yeah.
oh, was there a special meeting?
Yeah.
There was this meeting, what about bugs? Like, is it, like some of the guys, folks have like the half day or the full day, right?
Yeah, I know.
It's too complicated.
It is.
Honestly, it becomes a real, then you're managing all of that, which takes up a resources another time.
And if you add it on to what their monthly is, it's probably gonna come out the same.
Well, no, if
That's
you
a
do,
monthly one.
I sat down this afternoon, did a bunch of math, sitting in the conference room at work, and I come to very similar conclusions to what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's just easy, you don't have to, like I said, you don't have to keep track of a lot of things. It's just, these are the things that we do, and you're just, it's just assumed that you show up and do them, committee meetings and council meetings and.
And the mileage that's in there for Madawaska Valley, that's the county rate. That's the Canada, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
It should follow along with
It should.
the provincial.
Yeah, to the standard, right? Yeah.
Okay, so we make that change then too?
For the mileage,
Yes.
yeah. Okay, so what are we doing now?
So, are we just gonna do what Virginia mentioned?
We could, if everybody's happy with that for this year, and then next year go the rest of the way.
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Everyone's good with that.
Okay. Okay, that sounds good.
I will make those changes in, budget. Is there anything else the council wants to discuss, look over the budget?
Does anything jump out with you?
No, the only thing is, you just might wanna check for the OCF funding for the McLean. Just make sure that it qualifies.
Yeah, no, we're not taking it.
Oh, you're not, okay, okay,
No.
cause.
We were going to use it for the steamer, the new steamer,
Okay,
but I removed it from,
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, cause I'm not sure if it's
Yeah.
qualified for the steamer either.
you know.
Yeah.
It's kind of borderline.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the OCF, but it's strict guidelines of what you can, do.
Yeah.
You got a little more with the gas tax now, but.
So we just-
Yeah,
You just put that in the OpEx, or the operating expense of the business, or do you capitalize that?
that's really a capital item.
So we would capitalize it, and then if you were going to, then you would spread it across maybe whatever many years, right? We're just talking about paying cash for something. The only thing I would look at is just a little more information about how new the machine is, and are we buying something that we're gonna have to spend a bunch of money maintaining it, that's all. I know. That's my only thing, because,
Well, we're not gonna pass the budget.
no, exactly, so that's my only question is, you know, do we look at spending more money to get a better machine, if we're really thinking about doing it.
Yeah.
Because you don't wanna spend a bunch of money maintaining it, it's very expensive, but used car, right? When you draw the line and go,
Same.
this
That's
stuff,
enough.
there's stuff rented.
Nicholas Diamond, you got,
Yeah.
new one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe we look at that, I don't know.
Yes.
If you have them, then just mention that to Gordon, just for fun, have them look at something new, just to give us an idea of the cost of a new machine, not that we're buying one, but that gives you, it gives us better perspective.
Okay.
At least for me, it would give me that perspective, anyways. To make a business decision on it, whether you should invest in, and then maybe Jordan could let us know roughly how often we might be needing to use a machine like that. It's probably quite often. And then those are probably propane heated machines, I believe.
Well, I would think,
I
yeah,
think so, yeah.
yeah, I've seen.
Yeah.
I've seen them around there using propane,
Yeah.
and they work well.
Yeah, no, you see them cooking all the time, and lots of small guys use them.
Yeah.
That do like road maintenance and.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Small contractors.
You can get a mud pond this year with the heat.
Yeah, I don't know anything about them, I don't know how much maintenance is required to keep them running,
Yeah.
they just run away forever, I
Yeah,
have no
yeah,
idea.
could be boss.
I have no experience in that.
Yeah, I believe Jordan had talked to him.
I've seen county.
Yeah,
Yeah, they would know the guys.
yeah, I know he said, I know he said he had talked to Ray about stuff, what they use.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and they would know the maintenance cycle and how long before you,
yeah, replacement.
well, that's good.
Steaming and it's hot is probably a lot easier than that.
I would say, yeah, I'd say you get better bondage.
Well, you get a
Yeah.
better bond. Sure.
Yeah, he said too, this time of the year when it's cool, like he said, the road. Like he said, you put it in and it's not hot.
Well, I've even-
The next rainstorm, it just gets.
I've even seen the guys heat the road.
Yeah,
Actually,
yeah.
they're actually, before they, yeah,
Yeah, I've seen
Oh,
that
yeah.
too.
Because it's
the
hot.
big burners go behind trucks,
Yeah,
and they're actually heating before they put the hot patch on,
yeah,
heating the road, make sure it's dry, the moisture's all out. you know?
yeah.
And there's that new machine out now too, that, they did it on part of 41 this past summer. It's just a huge machine and it heats up, and so instead of grinding up the pavement and then repaving it, it actually melts the pavement.
Yeah, it
And it
reclaims,
fills it all up.
yeah, it reclaims the, yeah,
Little cracks and everything, yeah.
Yeah, but you drive over some of those sections right now and see how long it lasted. It hasn't lasted.
No, I
It's,
I was sold on it, but yeah, you're right now, you can see that.
Oh, yeah, between Griffith there and that one hunting camp there, it looks like it's supposed to come down. There's a whole section right in the middle of the road that's already been tore up. like I thought to myself, oh my gosh. And they spent a lot of time last year.
Oh.
And,
time.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's. I don't know who ever thought of that, but they should.
I'm sure it has its place, I'm sure maybe our climate's not the place for it.
It could be possible.
Yeah, it could be a climate thing.
Okay, so is there any other questions, any other comments? or-
No, it's. Let's get over this afternoon, what I was, it looks pretty good.
Will, did you get a copy of the staff report?
Yeah.
So in behind that, I have the pages of the budget with the updated numbers.
And this is a 1.5% increase?
Yes.
That's kind of the number that we talked about.
Yeah.
There's some pretty scary increases out there
Yeah.
this year.
There's gonna be a tough year ahead for lots of industry.
Yeah.
It's not that pretty.
Ginger, under roads, road construction. 146,000, what does that represent?
What sheet are you on?
Page 10.
You've done that. Page 9.
There was a breakdown of that in the other way.
Okay, well,
Yeah, there's a breakdown.
Sorry, I just don't know.
Yeah, it's different roads that we worked on.
Yeah.
I've seen that breakdown. I'll find the page very quickly.
Page 10,
Page 2.
Has the breakdown?
yeah.
No,
Yeah.
No, there's actual breakdown. It says which roads that are being worked
Yeah,
on.
Jordan had given us a little bit.
Yeah,
of a report
it's in here.
as what he wished to do.
I saw it afternoon.
We have,
Does it talk about Cedar Grove?
Cedar Grove, Wilkerson, yeah,
That's
on
right.
page 10.
Okay. Cause that's where I know there was a breakdown.
Cedar Grove, 112, Moccasin, 96, and then River Road, 74.
And we go.
yeah, 146 includes, so we're doing surface treatment on the road. Jewelville Road.
Yeah.
Ditching and White Lake,
Yeah, that
and or a gravel for some
Yeah, that's
more
a
additional
good.
roads.
Yeah.
There's a combination.
Yeah,
Yeah. It was a combo.
I just was wondering, because the other ones were broken down, so I just.
yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah.
I was mistaken.
I was just thinking ahead for my financing schedule for that.
No, it's nice to have the breakdown
Yeah.
itemized out, so you know where the money's going.
I'm sure whenever budget is approved, we'll have kind of a presentation, I would assume by staff. And
Yeah.
at that time, Jordan will probably break it down for us.
Well, it should be in the budget as well, broken there.
Yeah, yeah.
Any more questions? Ready to roll now?
I don't think so.
It's a fair budget.
So can we,
Yeah,
can we aim for passing the next regular council meeting then?
That's fine, right?
Yeah. Should be good.
So, and you'll have everything
We'll have everything.
from off to the tax rates in the whole 9 years.
I think I'll have tax rates for the next council meeting. May 3rd.
2 weeks.
Probably not. Just because. County is just passing their stuff next week
On Wednesday, yeah, so they have to put their tax rates in before.
before you guys.
Okay.
Yes, so
But should you go in and calculate your tax rate in Opta before the county?
Once, I think, once the county passes theirs and gets it in, because they're changing the industrial tax rate. here. So once, if Opta updates that right away, then yes, you can go into Opta and if you, I also have a spreadsheet that I'm trying to do too,
Yeah.
but doesn't take into account the industrial,
Would be
amount that you're allowed.
Yeah, that has to.
Yeah,
be
you
done
need
after
that for
they
the
get that.
calculation.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the tax rates are looking together.
Yeah, so it would be a bit tough to get the.
So we might have to wait.
We can pass,
Oh, we can?
Yeah,
You don't have to wait.
well, the tax rate bylaw, though, you have to have the tax rates.
Yeah, but that comes after the budget.
Yeah.
It passed the budget.
Yeah.
And then at a later date, well, once the office is up.
To the tax
they-
rate bylaw.
Then you can do the tax rate bylaw then after.
There's. So that's kind of low risk.
Oh, yeah, because you're passing the budget, so only if, once you pass the budget, then, and you're happy with the budget, then the tax rate, you guys have already built in what you want for the tax
Yeah,
rate.
what we feel.
So all you're doing is really not, all you're doing is you're pumping in the number that you need to raise. And then it generates tax rate.
Oh, okay, based on what you.
Based on
Okay.
what you did, so,
So
yeah.
what you feed in, that, okay, no, okay, oh,
Yeah.
okay,
It breaks it down
Yeah.
into all the different classifications.
yeah.
And that
that's
tax
good.
ratio for the industrial started in 1998. I was at the first meeting when the tax working group started. And I moved the motion to do the final adjustment this year.
Takes a long time. Get that in.
And I have a feeling, and there's a lot of people like, saying the same thing, that when the reassessment comes in, we're gonna see tax capping again. Because there's gonna be like a shift, we don't know what tax class it's gonna go to, and if there's a tax class that really gets hit, they'll bring capping in.
Yeah.
To share the burden with the
Yeah,
other.
remove the burger and.
We've already did one round of that. Okay, so do you wanna bring the budget to the budget presentation at the next meeting? That's great.
2 weeks.
Thank you.
Hey,
Yeah, sorry. Nice to meet you. Yeah.
Thank you for staying.
I'm sure you wanna get home.
Safe travels back.
Thank you, Will.
Thanks.
So,
The only other thing then on tonight's agenda is a change order from Law Vines. This is the second phase of our asset management. Dan wants to speak a little bit more on this, a little bit more. Yeah, sure. So we're
I
not.
kinda- just 1 second. I kind of looked at it and I didn't really see the reflection of. Is it the change order to the proposal 22-121 or?
So the original proposal from Rockline came in and they had based that quotation off on our previous BCA and asset management plans.
Okay,
So our previous plans didn't include a lot of these buildings, mostly because they didn't exist at the time. So in order to capture these buildings in our next stage 2, the BCA, we would need to approve this change order. If council doesn't want some of these buildings identified on our asset management plan, that is completely up to you. But this is what it would cost if you want every single building identified.
This is in addition to our previous quotations from Rockland. I have,
So, yeah, so the original would be 3-09 and this is A. Change order is just an A on the end of it, or,
yeah, it's the first change order that they
Yeah,
put in.
okay, so that's, okay, so the original document is 3-09. And the change order is A.
So it's gonna be 15,000 to have that.
Yes.
Well, 15,300.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's the estimate there.
I have done some research. And we do have enough contingency in the modernization money to cover this cost. It's just that council wishes to have all of these buildings included in it, or we could remove it.
Wow, the waste site buildings.
So the purpose of your BCA is for council to be able to plan ahead and strategize for replacement, upkeep and repairs of buildings.
Mhm.
Yeah.
If you find a building that isn't a high priority to capture that information on the BCA, then you can exclude it.
Normally, there's a threshold somewhere where you either include an asset or you exclude it. Is there a kind of a threshold or a standard that people use?
I don't know.
Because normally with asset management, there's a threshold.
Sure.
Anything below this number, you don't worry about. Anything above this number, you have to capture. I was just wondering if there was a kind of a guide for that.
What if we said anything 100 square feet and over? That would get rid of
That gets rid of two.
Three.
Only have three, okay, that's just, yeah.
So it's $2,100.
Because normally there's a place where you determine whether it's square footage or value, you just come up with.
And
Something.
even age might take some effect in that.
No, the 1,800.
Yeah,
Because normally you have a threshold, that's all I'm saying.
And there's gonna be a lot of factors to the threshold, so.
Usually it comes with, typically it's money, it's a financial thing when you're talking asset management, right? Because it's CapEx.
Yeah.
And what are you doing? Like, is it something that you're concerned with it? I'll give you an example. You wouldn't capture keyboards, mice, maybe and monitors, but laptops, because they're probably under 500. So the laptops could be 1,500, so that would be in your asset management, in your pool, right?
Yeah.
It would be no different for this, whether it's, you come up with some number where you go, it's kind of below, or the square footage thing, it's below the threshold, don't worry about that, it's a tiny building. You don't
But it
have
could
to-
be a valuable building.
if it's full of gold.
Well, I mean, I don't know.
It's back to
But
money.
when the side-
Washing change rooms,
Yeah.
the waste shots are very similar in size, the value of the washing change rooms is a lot bigger.
That's what
than the
I-
value.
Yeah, and a lot of those are pretty new.
Again, assets come back to dollars, it's what
That's what
it's.
I mean, they should be included, because they're very new.
And you want to capture all your assets, or do you not want to?
Oh, yeah, no, I'm just saying, it's not like they're, half falling down or something.
And all of this.
So we look at our stuff, everything is. Amount of money is. I don't know where the threshold would lie.
The storage sheds, both at Rodville and here are decent, they're in good shape.
I believe so, I think the ones that probably might be a little bit of a lesser quality than. Yeah, they're still using, if one were to burn down, they would have to rebuild, just to put it in that perspective, not that this isn't good to that.
No, exactly, but.
So everything here should be included in our asset management plan.
Unless, as Kevin says, we set a threshold.
Yeah, if you set a dollar value on stuff.
Dollar value.
I agree with the dollar value.
It becomes a consumable, if it's below a certain threshold, it's really just a consumable, right?
And that's something else you can think of too, is how much maintenance or repairs are gonna be needed or required for the waste site buildings, is that something that's going to be a large budgeted item? That's gonna have to be taken into account with the asset management.
You just have to decide what value you wanna have for a threshold, if you wanna use value, typically, like I said, assets are measured with value, a monetary number, right?
So what do you think is a fair number? If we were to go that way.
Yeah, I'm trying to determine.
Well, to add, it's gonna be 680.
Well, that's just a proposed fee
Yeah,
to manage the.
To add that.
To add it in,
Yeah.
it's not
They're
the
going,
value, it's
they're
not
going
the
to be
value.
coming
of
on site and
piece.
inspecting your building.
Yeah.
Building plan.
Or you use this as your benchmark and you make a decision after they come back with the evaluation of what they feel the property's worth. Because we don't
They've
know.
already done that then.
Yeah, well, is this an annual thing or once a lifetime?
This is to get us in compliance with the ORAD.
Right,
So this is, it's gonna be a working document as we upgrade and improve things. It's gonna constantly be evolving.
so we're gonna spend money on annually?
I think that'll be internal. I don't think there would be a continuous look around line. This is just get us up to
Oh.
par and meet our
Yeah.
regulations.
Yeah, it's probably based on sort of like our road asset.
Exactly.
And then it has to be updated by someone like Rothwell every.
Are you doing it?
But we're
5 years?
provided, we're documents, we're provided all editable documents to
Yeah.
update as we upgrade.
Okay.
But someone would have to
Verify.
value, put a value on it or something, right? Because
Well,
this is
that's
what
what they would
this-
do, isn't
But
it?
they're gonna do that now.
They're gonna be
The line
doing
in the
it.
sand would be now, or
Yeah,
when they do this. But then when do you do the next evaluation?
Yeah.
That's all I'm getting
That's,
at.
yeah, I know what you're
So,
saying.
but you're saying we can update it ourselves, you don't have.
And like as we're going, we can keep it up to date, so when
Okay.
it comes to that review period, whether it's in 5 years or 10 years, at least all the information is up to date.
Yeah.
The info will be there. It's just how often you review the
Yeah.
value of this particular piece of property. That's a
I
good
knew
doing
that
that,
was
right?
in 2015, so.
And it was never,
Yeah,
I don't think it was followed.
it was a guy, yeah, it wasn't.
So it's council's decision, that's why we're here to.
Well,
see
maybe
what
we
you
should
like.
have everything done and then we have it and then we
I
can
think we
decide
should-
from there.
We should,
Yeah.
use this as a benchmark.
Yeah.
And then make the determination going forward, you know, what we do with it.
Yeah.
Because we need to start somewhere.
Exactly.
Yeah,
There needs to be a starting point, and then you can make changes, because right now we just don't know.
No, that's
They'll give us the data,
okay.
and then we'll know.
So we're accepting the change order then as it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
If you go back out and then come back in, I have a resolution to that effect.
Okay, we have a resolution that the council, the corporation, the township of Brunel, Lindock and Raglan hereby approve the change order from Rob Imes for the additional buildings for stage 2 of the AMP, the assessment management program. Can I get a mover for that, please? Moved by Councillor Banks, seconded by Councillor Keller. Any questions, any discussion?
No, for me,
Okay, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
yes,
Motion is carried. And we have a resolution of the council of the corporation, the township of Brunel, Lindock and Raglan hereby adopts bylaw 2023-24, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the April 19th, 2023 special meeting of council, having been introduced and read first, second, and third time and finally passed. Can I get a mover for that, please? Moved by Councillor Cobble, second by Councillor Quad. Any comments, discussion? Can I call for the vote on that, please?
yes.
All those in favor? Motion carried. And could I get a motion for adjournment, please, at 8:26 p.m.? Moved by Councillor Quad.